All right, and of course, some of the key highlights there as far as SARS is concerned, right? Tax revenue going up at 9.3%, and also collections there beating the target, and also looking at the crackdown, right, on 40 billion rand tax leakages. These are some of what have come out there from the medium-term budget policy statement. And this evening, we do have with us SARS Commissioner Edward Kieswetter, who is on the line. Commissioner, very good evening to you, and thank you so much for your time. So, notwithstanding some of the challenges, of course, that still remain ahead of this medium-term budget policy statement, there was a lot of focus on whether or not you'd be able to demonstrate how you fared as SARS when it comes to revenue collection as far as the additional funding is concerned, with some looking to see if this was money well spent. Would you say it was?
Well, I mean, I always want to say you be the judge, because the economy has been rated to be growing at about 5.3% in nominal terms, down from 6.3%. So one has to ask the question, where does the 9% year-on-year growth in revenue come from if it's not all coming from the economy? And the answer is that a significant component of the additional revenue is in fact from our compliance effort, of which the debt and the revenue recovery program is part of. So let me talk about that for a moment. Mm-hmm. In the first year of this project, this is the second year of the project. In the first year of the project, we had about 1,400 additional resources we brought on this project. And then when the minister gave us the additional billion this year, that took us to 2 billion, and we were able to increase the full-time equivalents to 4,200. However, we're also finding now that the level of debt, the low-hanging fruit, where we are deploying the 2,400 staff, there is a component of the debt that is a lot more complex debt, and for that we need a higher level of auditor, not just a debt collector, because here is someone who needs to understand how to read and analyze income statements and balance sheets and cash flow statements, because they must make an assessment when a company says, I need to pay off the debt over the next 6 months. They must make a credit risk assessment. If a company comes and says, we need you to compromise our debt, we need to make an assessment of whether it is a legitimate request. Then we also need more legal collectors, because this isn't just a phone call or a follow-up. Actually, we're now deploying legal instruments such as civil judgments to the court, writs of execution to attach assets, expensive legal resources to litigate where there are disputes. And so we have begun to bring on the first 80 employees or individuals on project who work at a higher level of complexity. We are hoping in the second half of the year to increase that to 250 and to therefore increase the level of debt. So far this year, we have collected 47 billion as of September, which is what the minister announced, but we're already seeing that October was a much better month, and our debt now stands just under 57 billion. Mm-hmm. And traditionally, the second half will also be a higher collection period. So we are so confident that, from the additional resources, we said to the minister, we intend to improve the recovery by adding a further 20 billion rand to the fiscus. And we're hoping that we will maintain that commitment as we move into the second half of the year.
So we can keep our hopes up as far as this assessment is concerned. And I say this with a smile on my face to say that, can we see additional tax increases, or shall we keep our hopes up that we won't? Commissioner?
We would like to take the VAT increase or any increase off the table completely, and he will use this year to build confidence in our commitment. And to the extent that he's confident, and we do deliver the additional 20 billion for this year, we can then use that as a basis to know that we can add the additional revenue into the outer years as well.
And there is, of course, another issue that you're contending against the SARS, right? And while you continue with the work towards clamping down, for example, on illicit markets and tobacco, precious metals, fuel and procurement fraud, for example, there's still some concerns as far as, illicit tobacco, etc. is concerned, that you do have customs officials who are not playing ball here. How are you going to begin to address this? Because it does impact on your work.
You mean customs officials who collude with taxpayers?
Pardon?
Are you saying customs officials?
No, I was saying that, for example, when it comes to the illicit markets, for example, in tobacco and all of that, and the work that you're trying to do there in order to ensure that you don't lose more money there, there are some custom officials who are not playing ball as far as making sure that the work that you are doing as SARS in terms of intelligence and all of that, to be able to clamp down on this, those particular customs officials are in fact impacting your work. How are you going to strengthen that part to ensure you don't lose more money there?
Well, first of all, we have done a significant amount of work after we established a division to look at tax and customs crime, which is of a syndicate nature. Syndicated crime is more complex than an individual taxpayer trying to put away their taxes to get a VAT refund or overstate their expenses. Syndicated crime is enabled by multiple players, and it takes a much harder, more complex work, more data analysis, forensic investigations. It can take up to 3 years to unwind a scheme, like we did with the tobacco scheme. We've unwound 4 schemes in the last 5 years. We unwound a tobacco scheme, a alcohol scheme, a fuel scheme, and a coal syndicate. And of course, we expect our customs officers to be people of integrity. And when we do have an integrity breach, we have a capacity within SARS to promote integrity, but also where we suspect that a customs officer or any employee of SARS has breached integrity, we take action. In the 6 years since I've rejoined, we have dismissed over 120 of our staff for breaches of integrity, and another 120 or so have resigned. We have pursued many criminally, and have about 20 that have been sentenced and convicted. So we take a very, very firm view that if any of our employees, whether they are tempted or and have a moment of integrity lapses, there will be consequences, because we work too hard, the rest of us, to allow one or two to think that they can collude with the taxpayer or the importer to defraud the fiscus. We will not tolerate that.
Commissioner, I appreciate your time. I know you're in transit. Thank you so much for speaking to us, SARS Commissioner Edward Kieswetter.